Now, how do I start? So, the world is in lockdown or going into lockdown. If it wasn't in lockdown already, it's gonna go into lockdown or it's already in lockdown. It depends on where you are in the world at this moment in time. When I was about 11, I started writing a diary. I wrote a diary for years. And they're surprising. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. And it's good to keep a diary. It's good to witness and record what we see and what we experience. I've been putting that off. I keep putting it off. I've been stopping and starting for years as an adult, but I don't really have an excuse apart from I suppose a sense of maybe, what's a good word? Not shame. Shame is too big. Embarrassment. Sense of embarrassment. My life, just like everybody else's, is just very generic. But I recorded a harp meditation today, and after I posted it, I listened to it, and there were a few things that I thought, that's interesting. And I saw something which kind of shocked me. So it's time for me to get back into creating a diary. Yeah, during my last pilgrimage to Rome, I made a diary. I recorded a diary on a daily basis, talking about moving on foot from Ireland to Rome. And it was great. It was great to let it all out. But at the moment, there's no moving around. I'm thinking about it. I think about it all the time. But I'm not moving around. So what did I notice? One, I haven't played enough harp. I haven't played enough music. I've been hiding from the music, and it's time to try and listen more. There was a discrepancy between the lowest E and the highest E, and I didn't hear it when I was tuning it. You hear it when you do it every day. But I've been preoccupied with other things. So there was one thing I noticed. It's a warning sign. You gotta keep your eye on the ball. You always need to keep your eye on the ball. And the other thing I noticed, mainly because I hadn't checked the angle of how I put down the phone, and it was that my youth is behind me. I'm getting old. It's not a big deal, but I am getting old. So what has that got to do with creating a diary? I suppose that I'm coming to the realization that if there is anything I've got to say, I better start saying it. I better start sharing it. And then the question is there anything worth sharing? And there is where the embarrassment is. What am I doing this for? I'm posting videos onto a public platform. And when I first started doing that, I was very, very, very concerned with who would watch those videos. And I did a lot of editing, and I felt a lot of embarrassment about the way I looked and the way people would see it. But the truth is that not that many people see videos like the ones that I make, because there just aren't that many people that are interested in what I have to say. And that brings me back to getting older. I will be 51 this year. Now, the heart meditations will definitely be heard by those who need heart meditations. But my vlogs are unlikely to attract a great audience, or a big audience for that matter. And it doesn't really matter, because whoever needs to hear what I have to say will find these videos whenever they are ready, and they will take from them what they need. I am a woman of my time. I'm the tail end of a generation of women that come from a long fight to be, I suppose, even just acknowledged. I'm not hurt. Whatever I have said in my life has been ignored by most. Whether it was silly or not interesting or right on the mark. Truthful, honest, visionary. The truth is, the world does not care. And now that I'm getting older, it cares even less. And there is a sense of absolute freedom in that. So, I'm going to keep a diary again, I think. I'm just gonna share for myself what it's like to be me. Some obscure harp player who doesn't belong where she lives, who's got some social skills, but has never been able to really carve out a place in the world, really participate. None of that has been part of my life. And I know that you're all out there, not much different from me. People with interesting insights, who've worked very hard, who've kept their visions, who need to maybe hear that there are people just like you, like me, that we're not alone. I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. This is a good day to start. 2 years ago, I set out from West Cork to Rome with a harp on my back. It wasn't the first time that I did something like that. I walked to Santiago de Compostela in 2010. And I'm sure I'll get to talk about all of that. But for today is the day that I'm going to try and set aside my dislike of a big part of humanity. Where I'm going to try and feel compassion for all those people who feel that they're being shortchanged at this moment in time. Because the thing that they've hung their lives onto is now nearly, almost nil and void. We're living through extraordinary times. Extraordinary times. My dad, God rest his soul, always used to say that my generation was very, very lucky. Having grown up in Europe, I've never really experienced war, hunger, real discrimination, although that's an argument for another day. But First World all the way. I grew up in the Netherlands and I live in Ireland, one of the wealthiest parts of the world. I've had the freedom to move from one country to another, raise a child on my own, and I have no real skills apart from music, and I'm not really the type of person that can play in a band or an orchestra for that, because I don't have the social skills for it, nor the stomach. So it's just me and the odd insight into art. A lot of thinking, a lot of thinking, and a very, very simple life. One thing I'm good at though is the witnessing of. I look at the world and I just see it. I would like for the world to be a completely equal place, but I'm very aware that that is not the case. And this is all bullshit. So since it's a diary, I should really talk about what it is that I do on a daily basis. Now, I got up early enough. Was planning on doing a yoga class. A yoga teacher has started doing online yoga classes, and I didn't. I had coffee. I drank coffee, and then I wrote reports because I do 2-3 hours of teaching for these lads here a day, and they're like 25-minute classes. It's I Tutor, which is a company that teaches English to people in Asia online. The irony of it. The end of December, I made the decision that, or mid-December, it was really, I made the decision that if I was going to do another walk, which hopefully will happen after all this madness of COVID-19 has passed, that I needed a job. I was getting really stuck in my head, so the obviously I'm not really interested in working in a kitchen anymore, and I'm, like I said, like I'm not gonna join an orchestra or band, or like I'm well beyond all of that. I'd come back from Rome and I did my grieving for my dad last year after he died, and it was just time to go do something. So I wanted a job that maybe possibly I could bring on the road with me, so create a bit more freedom. And yeah, I've been freelancing with them. Now, so far, so good. I've been working for them now for 3 months, and the only thing is that you do your teaching and then you have to write the reports. And me being who I am, I don't want to go like, oh, you participated really well in the class today. So I end up writing all these, these little stories for them about what they did really well and what we did in the class, and why I thought it went really well, or what I think really could improve, or I explain the main points of where the difficulties were in the class. It takes about 10 minutes per person that I teach. I just haven't managed, like, I can maybe talk about this some other time, but in short, I've managed the time management within the teaching is coming along really nicely. But the time management outside of the class, writing the reports, not so good. So I find it hard to finish them on the day. I have to say that out of all the online jobs that I looked at and that I'm qualified for, this was really the best idea, and I've been really enjoying it, to my surprise. I always said that I'm a musician, a player more than as a musician. I'm more of a player than I am of a teacher, and that I didn't want to be in front of the classroom. But now that I'm teaching like individuals and even small groups, like 4 to 5, 6 people, I'm really enjoying it. And the fact that it is online, so that I don't have to physically be in a classroom with a group of people, also suits me really well, because I'd be really wary to be in a room with a group of kids or a group of adults for that matter. Not anymore. Like 10 years ago, yeah, now not so much. I don't mind climbing onto a stage and play for 50 people, 60 people, 80 people, but I like that distance. So the same thing for the online teaching. I like the fact that we're not physically in the same room. So I did my reports, then checked all the social media, made up my mind that I wasn't going to be angry anymore, and then still didn't do the yoga class, which I had saved from yesterday. But who did I call? I called somebody. I had a chat with somebody, and then it was time to teach. So, I did things like take the wash in and clean the kitchen. I had a shower. That's it. I had a shower. Oh, I remember the offspring. I have an offspring. My beautiful child, who isn't a child anymore, and she's in South Korea. And that's how I ended up knowing about COVID-19 and being aware of it and following the curves a little bit before most people in Europe, while everybody was going like, oh, this is a Chinese problem and like Asians are the problem. I was watching the Koreans go out and like tackle this thing like there was no tomorrow, as if they seemed to understand straight away that this was like serious. And they came up with all the methods that we are now using. The frustration I've had over the past 2 weeks is that with all the reading that I did and the following of the growth of the COVID-19, is that really some of the measures that we've created are not enough, and that most governments in this part of the world didn't even bother to get prepared properly. Like they're in Ireland, they're waiting for PPE, for protective gear for the health service, because they didn't anticipate it. The utter arrogance of it when you think about it. It wasn't, it was down to the Chinese and the Asians to get this done, to get it sorted and make it stop. And then when it started traveling, when it left Asia, they just weren't prepared. So Asia gave places like Europe and the United States time to prepare, and they didn't take it. And they also didn't change the way in which they approached it. So, for one, like the mixed advice that is being given by the World Health Organization about the masks. People in Europe think that you shouldn't wear masks. I mean, this virus is aerosol. It travels on your breath. So we should all be wearing masks. But that is not the general advice. In fact, on most government websites, it says that you shouldn't. Yesterday morning, I found an email from the tutor group asking us, were we okay? Saying that they understood that we're all going through a hard time, like people in Europe and the United States and other parts of the world, and giving us a list with advice, things that they, from their experience, will keep us safe. And number 3 on that list is always wear a mask when going outside. So how did I get to this? Oh yeah, the offspring. So I've been following it because my offspring is out in South Korea, And this morning she was supposed to go from South Korea to Japan for her visa, because she needs to leave the country every 3 months for a visa renewal. And she'd kind of waited to the last moment to get this done because there's so much uncertainty and everything is changing continuously. And when she wanted to check in for her flight, she was told that no, she couldn't because she needs now a visa for Japan. Normally, you fly from South Korea to Japan, you get off the plane, you stay there for a night, or you get the next plane back in, and then you can renew your visa to stay in South Korea. This time they wouldn't let her on the plane to go to Japan, but her visa was for South Korea was expiring, so she had to go and sort that out. And she had asked me, what do I do? So me, in my mommy wisdom, went, well, you need to come back to Europe. Like, I'll get you repatriated, and got on to the embassy, the Dutch embassy here in Dublin, because we carry Dutch passports, and they were very helpful, and they gave me addresses and phone numbers and told me what their plans are and what they expect to happen. And so, I tried to give her that information, but like, I think she'd already gotten an extension, and she's gonna try and stay over there. And of course, in my wisdom, it had never occurred to me that actually they're doing a pretty good job at keeping COVID-19 at bay. Now, first they were like the second highest numbers in the country, and they've been sinking to the bottom because they don't have more than 70, 80, 90 cases a day, compared to, at the moment, I think I saw 9,000 new cases in the United States, second day in a row. Like, just under, around the 500, 600 deaths in Spain, and not to mention Italy, who've been pushing around 600 to 800 deaths a day for the past few days. And with all of that in my head, I finished my reports and then went to work. So I did that. And then in the afternoon, I got sucked into that again, looking at the numbers and trying to get hold of the offspring, and talking to my stepdad to see what he thought about the situation. And I have for this job, there is like a next step. So I've done so many hours of teaching now with them, and the idea is then that you extend on what you're already able to do, and the company gives you like study material, so you can work with different groups and more groups, and you can do other types of lessons. So I try to focus on that. I made like aubergines yesterday, and I had cooked one of my favorite Leek dishes, a Turkish dish, which is leeks with garlic and tomatoes, and so I ate loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of that. While watching these videos and learning how Minicam works on the computer. Oh my! I don't know how I'm going to get my head around it. And trying to get in touch with the daughter, and then I decided that I'd had enough, so I made the heart meditation as an action to make peace with the world. So I was hoping to maybe do another, like it's late by now, I was hoping to do maybe a bit more studying, watch another few videos. It would be good to do some yoga. I had a little bit of out in the back garden. I had a scrounge around as to what is all there. Like I have a little bit of broccoli in the garden, and I've got a few like really anemic looking leeks. But listen, leeks are leeks, so food is food, and there is some chard. So there's more chard, spinach, beet leaf that I can eat in the next few days. I won't be going outside much because when I do go outside, I do cover my mouth and my nose as well. And yeah, I don't want to make people uncomfortable. So I just tend to stay at home at the moment. I think I will have to go out on Thursday. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so that's okay. Tomorrow, nothing much. I will try and do catch up with the yoga. Finish this series of videos. Do the same hours of teaching. I just decided that doing a little bit every day is quite good. And but I think I'm tired now. I'm tired now. This is it. Like my biggest enemy has been social media. I've found that just it's one thing to try and put up things on social media about how we can help each other and news and information. I get it. I get it. We all like to be informed, and we all like to show that we know what we're talking about. But then there is, next to that, there is like this sense of a creation of community and trying to do good, to do well, and in a sense that's really lovely. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people like myself, like, oh, sure, I can answer phones and stuff, but there is thousands. People just get so, people have been told to stay at home, and they want to do something. They want to do stuff, and that's all really lovely. But it's not always helpful. It's okay to just stop and just do as much of a normal routine, but without all the social contacts. In fact, that'll be a whole lot more helpful in many cases. And what I've seen is that people get so frustrated that they start looking at what everybody else is doing. And this is where the rabbit holes happen. The truth is that it's none of our business what other people do, even if they don't do what we want them to do. People are going to do whatever they're going to do, and we are responsible for what we do, not for what other people do. So if you want to help, then the best course of action to take is to ignore what everybody else is doing and do the right thing by yourself, by your family, and by society, which in this case actually very clearly states, don't socialize, don't hang out, just all stay away from each other. And this seems to be an issue. Both sides are an issue. So there's an issue about just not socializing, just not being with other people. And the other side is the looking at whether other people are doing the right thing. So it's a little bit like the Dutch Prime Minister was saying like a week and a half ago on television. He goes like, and none of us should be shaking hands. And next thing he gets up and he shakes the hand of the guy. It's exactly that thing. It is when you're keeping your eye on somebody else, you're not keeping an eye on your own stuff. So in this case, I would say so I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to have the discussions. And I want to take the advice of those who have dealt with this virus and cover my nose and my mouth when I go out. So I hang out with one friend a day online. I have coffee with somebody. Today, after teaching, I hang out with my friend Tony in Amsterdam. He's the man who gave me these. They are St. Francis and St. James. When I arrived in Rome, they were waiting for me there. So I can wear them and they can keep me safe. So they're keeping me safe. And I had a chat with him because he's not a very well man, and he's in a big city all on his own. And he was on my mind. So I had a cup of coffee with him. And then I went back to work and wrote my reports. So that is what my day looks like at the moment. Today, again, all this social media just keeps coming. And I'm going to try a little bit harder to not let that happen, to not have that happen, to keep just looking on what it is I want to go and do in this period of time, which is just do my few hours of teaching every day, stay out of everybody's way, make a harp meditation every day. And the other thing I did like is there is a group which is called Music Heals the World. Gubri, a harpist from Italy, she started this. She's got a Facebook page, and it's harp players and musicians who share music with the hashtag Music Heals the World, which is basically what the harp meditations function as well. So to try to take the pressure off people, to give them just a tiny bit of breathing space during the day. Then there is the Live Harp Hub, which I might or might not do something for. And definitely something that I want to do is to do the virtual pilgrimage, because all the pilgrims cannot walk. And I keep putting off actually really talking about the pilgrimages that I've walked. When I walk them, I seem to be very willing to share. But once I come home, it all kind of that stops again. I feel embarrassed about it. Now, I think that's it for today. I don't think there'll be many people that will have watched the whole thing. But if you have, then thank you very much. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. Thank you very much for coming and hearing. I hope there is one or two things in there that either give a bit of clarity or help, or show that, we're all like this, and we all have the same frustrations, and tomorrow is another day. Thank you very much for hanging out. This was the 24th of March 2020. Good night. Bye-bye.